Thank you, sir. Thank you, Arul sir, Ramesh sir, and Dr. Atik for this opportunity. I'm going to talk on nanophthalmos, how to do phaco in a case of a nanophthalmos. First of all, we have to understand the disease. It's a microphthalmos is a developmental disorder of the eye, characterized by the axial length reduction, at least in 2 standard deviations below the mean age. The microphthalmos is always also associated with coloboma, anterior segment dysgenesis, lens abnormalities, and posterior segment abnormality. Nanophthalmos is a condition in which the eye is small, but as well as the function and the organization of the eye is very much normal. It's a small hyperopic eye. There are narrow palpebral fissures. It has a high hypermetropic refractive error. Remember, this has to be diagnosed early in the children where they can get refractive amblyopia. Glasses or a contact lens correction has to be done earlier in their age. And a shallow anterior chamber. Remember, the shallow anterior chamber is going to be difficult for the surgeon to do the phaco. The axial length up to 21 millimeter, the Dukan classification. The posterior wall thickness is greater than 1.7. That is, the sclera is rigid and thick. There is a high lens, high volume ratio also. Classify it, I want you to understand this. Simple microphthalmos, the axial length of the eye is less. That is, there is no other findings. Whereas in a case of a complex microphthalmos, there is a short axial length. The eye globe size is reduced with associated with other ocular malformations. In case of a relative anterior microphthalmos, the anterior chamber dimensions are reduced, whereas the posterior segment dimension is normal with the normal sclera. Whereas in a case of a posterior microphthalmos, there is a short axial length due to the posterior segment dimension with the normal anterior chamber dimensions, and the rest of things are normal. In nanophthalmos, there is short axial length is due to both small anterior as well as posterior segments. Here the sclera is thickened and the choroid is thickened with the normal lens volume. As you see, the white-to-white measurement is almost less in case of a microphthalmos and nanophthalmos, whereas the myopia, the axial length is more. The white-to-white may be normal, and in case of a megalocornea, both the white-to-white as well as the axial length is more than 27 millimeter mercury. Remembering the IOL formula is very important. Here, I want to mention that Hoffa Q is the preferred one or Haigis, but more than that, we prefer an immersion technique in this, and it is better the surgeon perform the IOL calculation. Even the dipping of the cornea can produce a increase the refractive surprise. Moreover, in spite of all the IOL masters, calculation, the formulas, everything, explain to the patient there can be refractive surprises later on. May in case refractive surprises, piggyback lenses has to be kept in the sulcus. This has to be explained to the patient preoperatively. The eye is small, both eyes are usually affected. Thickened sclera, patients develop glaucoma, hypermetropia. This has to be corrected early in the childhood, otherwise lead to an amblyopia. Ametropic between the eyes. The amblyopia has to be taken care in the early in the stage, and patient develops strabismus. Concomitant surgery has to be performed. Cataract surgery with a high power lens implant may be considered to have polypseudophakia with precipitating angle closure. Common complications are the posterior capsular rupture. PCR rates are more increased in these patients during surgery. 4 to 15% is not increase in the normal surgery, and there is aqueous misdirection. And suprachoroidal hemorrhage can happen. To always keep the eye, make a conjunctival incision, keep it ready to make further scleral incisions. Prolonged anterior UVTs are there, almost 2 to 11% increase in the normal patients. UV efficiency is also there. Even in post-operatively, keep this in mind and follow these patients for UVTs. Corneal decompensation is known to occur, and even intraoperatively, as we are operating in a small eye, keep this in mind and protect your cornea well with both cohesive and viscoelastic dispersive. Retinal detachment, cystoid macular edema, choroidal hemorrhage, and vitreous hemorrhage are other complications. So, with this surgery, planning the surgery is very essential. First and foremost, raise the saline bottle height to the ceiling. Preoperative mannitol or Diamox is given, and in such a way that the decompression of the vitreous is done, and the eye is made soft, because all these eyes are small eyes are very tight and produce a severe positive pressure while doing the surgery. Some of the authors have even suggested to give preoperative steroids to control the uveal inflammatory reactions in the eye. Peripheral iridotomy, some of the authors also advise to do preoperatively as well as intraoperatively. Scleral ramular resections in case necessary. The basic idea is reduce the phaco time, minimizing the phaco time, keep a low phaco, low vacuum, and less damage to the cornea. I'd like to share my video. Are you able to see, sir?
No, sir.
Now, sir?
No, Srinivas. We are seeing your face, but not the video. You can play the video, go to screen share and click on on that window.
Yes, sir. Now, sir?
Yes, Srinivas, we can see
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I would like to thank Murali Arga sir and M&A Hospital for this wonderful video. As you see, the axial length, corneal diameter is less, anterior chamber is less. It's very difficult to maneuver during surgery. Even though the lens size and thickness are very much normal in the size, it's going to be a very difficult surgery. Calculating the IOL power is also a difficult challenge. It's a 60-year-old male patient, the grade 2 NS2 cataract. The anterior chamber depth is 1.43 millimeter in this patient, and there is a narrow angle. As you see, the axial length is less than 21 millimeter. That is, the right eye is 15.4, and in the left eye it is 15.4 millimeter. All these things is going to be produced very difficult situations. I'm going to show two cases, both of the same eye. One done the pure phaco and the right eye, left eye, and the other one in the right eye, differently. To start with the left eye, as you see the white to white measurement, which is taken, it's almost 10 millimeter, both horizontally and vertically. And as you see, it's a white, mature, soft cataract. A conjunctival incision is made in case necessary later on for any suprachoroidal hemorrhage to make a subscleral incision. Side port entries are made in both the sides. Be very careful while doing side port entry. It should not be very large so that there cannot be any wound leak or an iris prolapse, which is very common in these surgeries. Even the main port entry, you have to be very careful that you make a 3-plane incision. The pupil is small here. The patient cannot afford. We are not using any rings. Small union rings can be tried. Iris hooks going to be very difficult in such a small situation in these small eye patients. Once the capsular access is completed, a 2.8 millimeter keratome is a 3-plane tunnel is made, a clear corneal incision is made, and we use both cohesive and dispersive viscoelastics. So soft shell technique is followed to protect the endothelium. And we use a gentle multi-quadrant hydrodissection attempt. In here, not like in a regular phaco, use minimal fluid so that the iris doesn't collapse out. And the usual phaco is done. Here, as it is a soft cataract, by God's grace, it is very simple. The capsular or the chop is done. In the back, the cataract is rotated and it is made into a multi-quadrant dissection. The usage of the left hand is very essential to perform this surgery, and never chop it in the back. Bring it to the center as a core point. Protect the endothelium. Don't keep an ego. Put a visco again if you want. Bring it to the center. Perform a supracapsular phaco. As it is a soft phaco, it is follow blood. Keep a low volume, low phaco power. And we are doing now a bimanual cortical aspiration. Here, remember the important point is go clockwise. Why I am mentioning clockwise is, as you cannot visualize fully and you cannot stretch the iris, sometimes you can contract. Go clockwise, you will not miss any cortex left out. You cannot visualize fully in all these small eyes. A custom-made 37 diopter IOL is placed. The IOL, you have to be very careful. Load yourself and inject very slowly, as it is a thick, bulky lens. Rotating the lens, we have found that many times we have produced capsular rent during this, as it's a bulky lens. Go very slow, gently, and do a small iridectomy 23, which is already preoperatively done, slightly extended to prevent any post-operative rise in the intraocular pressure. Some of the authors don't agree this. Suture the wound in case necessary. If there is a wound leak, if you feel so, or adequate stromal adhesion is done. The other eye, as we face, I want to show in a different way. Some of the authors suggest that to decompress the vitreous by doing an anterior vitrectomy. So a trocar 23 gauge needle is introduced and thorough anterior vitrectomy is done. You also know it is also a soft mature cataract with the 3/60 vision. Some of the authors don't agree because you don't see, don't do vitrectomy without seeing. That is their concept. But here we have attempted. This has been also published in the Tamil Nadu Journal of Ophthalmic Society. The thorough anterior vitrectomy is done. The idea is to debulk the nucleus. The eye which was tight with a small narrow anterior chamber. After the thorough anterior vitrectomy, eyeball becomes very soft and the anterior chamber deepens. So you have an extra space. And in case those who are surgeons who are not very comfortable to do phaco, they can use the malunion rings, other rings, so the patient can afford it. and do at the two side port incision, the routine phaco is performed. Here the patient is having a bit posterior synechiae. We use a stretcher to stretch the pupil, the normal blunt instrument, and the synechiae can be also relieved by doing the visco also. A thorough capsular rhexis, continuous capsular rhexis is done along with the pupillary margin so that you get a large rhexis to perform the phaco. A 2.8 millimeter keratome entry is made, three-plane tunnel, you have to be very careful. A gentle, as I mentioned earlier, a gentle hydrodissection with minimal fluid. Don't use a heavy fluid so that the iris prolapse, once it starts, again, it's going to be a problem for you while we intraoperatively. Phaco is the usual routine thing. Give a drench, stop and stop. Phaco is done. A soft shell phaco technique is followed. The cataract is, as it is very soft, it follows the probe, and we keep a low volume phaco with a low vacuum. And the epinucleus is also slowly being removed. Always remember that if you see the video, we don't move the phaco probe. We keep it in the center. That is the essential criteria. Don't take it anywhere to the edges so that the iris is not touched. And the 40 diopter, specifically tailor-made lens is placed. You yourself load the lens. Don't allow it the sister to load. Sometimes because of bulky lenses, cannot move out of the injector. I have come across a patient where the injector burst open there and we could not have a second injector. We have to postpone the eye. And in a special case where the lens haptic we broke, I have also a case where I have produced a rent while rotating the lens. Some bulky lenses. Go very slowly. Each time protect the endothelium with dispersive. When you're doing phaco, use the cohesive also. The peripheral iridectomy is done so that the post-operative rise in intraocular pressure is reduced. Now the trocar cannula is reduced. Remove. This is a preoperative picture and the post-operative satisfactory patient. In case of non-orthos, certain points I want to stress. The challenges are many, but if you adequate planning and accurate diameter, you yourself do it, do an immersion contact, follow the formula, not the SRKTs don't generally work, use the Haggis or the Hoffa-Q, and phacoemulsification soft shell technique, protect the endothelium along with the dispersive as well as the cohesive. And phacoemulsification, which is performed in the center, never take it to the probe to the periphery. Careful injection and dialing of the lens. And anterior vitrectomy also is published to deepen the anterior chamber. Care to be taken to prevent suprachoroidal hemorrhage. Post-operative also carefully follow up any rise in pressure, any uveitic reactions. I'd like to thank Ramesh sir and Arun sir for this wonderful opportunity, and Atik also.
Thanks.
And there are 6 steps. The 7th step I want to add, don't keep an ego. Refer it to senior surgeons if you're not comfortable doing this surgery and be happy.